Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Eternal Backlog Podcast. I'm Nomad and I'm joined here by Shady Armic. How's it going?
Oh, busy week of gaming. It's always
Another busy week indeed. And I saw an image coming out of your X account today of a certain TV upgrade.
Yes.
What have we gone and done now?
So for those that don't know, houses in the US have something called a loft, which is a little different to the way lofts are in the UK. Lofts in the UK are pretty much your attic, right, underneath your roof tiles. Over here, a loft is like a second living room in your upstairs hallway, but it's an actual room.
Right.
So the wife and I have decided to just, it's been sitting there for 2 years doing nothing. Let's get the sofa, let's get the coffee table, let's get the TV, the sound bars, wood paneling, everything. So it's all arriving. So 77-inch LG G4, the best gaming TV money can buy today.
Now, is that bigger or same size as the one you've currently got your devices rigged up to?
So the one I have is a 55-inch in my game room, and that's the LG G2. So it's about 2 years old, still fantastic. Have no reason to change it whatsoever. But, if I'm going to buy a TV today, I might as well buy a TV today, Are
you going to move any of your machines there, or?
I have been messing with the idea. I definitely think the Switch 2 is going to go in the loft on that big TV, and I might move the PlayStation into the loft as well. I've got to put something in there just to see what the graphical fidelity looks like on that screen. So, very excited. A lot of
nice
drilling and mounting to do.
All stuff I can't do.
All you need to drill.
I have absolute phobia of DIY. Well, it's not. It's been a situation where we've also been dabbling in the purchases. We can now confirm we have an iPhone 16 here in the whatever they called it, pink color.
Saffron pink. I've got the name
Sapphire
of it.
Or something. I don't know.
Saffron.
But it's pretty decent. I'm quite happy with it. Obviously, I had an SE2 beforehand, and
it's a heck of an upgrade.
Feels like it is. So I mean, I haven't got the. Do you know what? This is the first time I didn't roll into the beta updates from Apple. It asked me when I set up the phone. I was like, actually, I've had a couple of beta updates in the past, and it was you get the occasional ropey one. I was like, I'll just wait, and when Apple Intelligence comes out, it'll feel like another fresh iteration of my phone. So
what's been the biggest change then? Because that's, a lot of people today, myself included, I'm a diehard Apple fanboy. I used to upgrade every 2 years. There'd always be something new, and on paper there is stuff new, but it doesn't feel like a new phone anymore. But obviously, coming from an SE2 to the 16, what's kind of the biggest thing that surprised you?
I think, well, first of all, I missed having that, the fingerprint on the it wasn't, by the time I got it, it wasn't a button anymore. It simulated it being a button, but it still had the the out exterior of having a button. So I had to get used to not having that anymore and having to slightly navigate the phone in a different way. I think the main thing that I really appreciate is all that extra screen real estate.
Yeah.
And I know some videos you kind of technically can zoom in to even get it go beyond the dynamic island to get that even, wider experience. I really enjoyed that element of it, and I absolutely love. And one thing that really pushed me over the edge with the 16 was, well, the color was one thing, but that's not the main reason.
Saffron pink.
The other reason is I like to do video on my phone, but I like to do it like a regular person, a normal person. What does a normal person do, ladies and gentlemen, when they film something on their phone? It's meant to be landscape, but apparently so many people out there don't understand that. And I've seen people bitch about the placement of this button, a specific button on the iPhone 16, which is meant to emulate having a compact camera. And people were complaining, it's a horrible place to put the button when I film that, because you're not meant to be filming vertical, you idiots. So that, for me, is big, because it really gives you that one-to-one experience of feeling like you've got a proper camera before. And I've always found I just can't get the steadiness, because when you're going onto that, pressing the virtual button in the middle of the screen, there are times where you will go out of holding it with two hands to one hand and pressing the button, and it goes a bit flimsy in your hand and all of this stuff. This is just perfect. I mean, if you don't have the gimbal, you can still get unbelievable preciseness with holding it. And then I just love that touch, the touch zoom that's in there on there as well, and a few other settings you can access. And then I still 100% not figured out how I want to customize this little small button. But
I've left it to the silent ringer.
It's currently the silent ringer.
Because I don't need it to be anything else. That's the thing.
Yeah.
At least I don't. Yeah.
I was dabbling with the whole, like turning into a doctor and using it for voice notes or something, you know. But I'm sure there'll be more support for other devices for it. I didn't quite understand why everyone was super, other than obviously offering a bit more real estate, the dynamic island. I was like, I remember people used to just get completely wet over like how good that was meant to be. It was like, okay.
So it's an interesting one because it's the first time Apple have had to mask the technology, whereas historically they've kind of, just been very, we've got a notch and here it is, whereas other phones like Samsung's, they've had like the little punch hole cutouts and they've kind of disguised it into the wallpaper and stuff so you wouldn't really see it. But you can't really do that with Face ID. There's like 4 or 5 sensors under there. So I think one thing they've done is this really well is like, okay, well, if this thing's going to live on your screen, how can we make it, cool, essentially? So what I tend to like is, if I'm using my phone, then the dynamic island will stretch and it'll tell me low battery, or here are your camera, your volume controls. And, we've got a service out here called DoorDash, which is like Uber Eats. Yeah. And, I've got a thing up there with a little timer that says, 5 minutes, your food will be here. So there's a couple of really interesting use cases. Face ID, how it expands and captures your face and shrinks again. Apple Pay is another one that's really cool as well. The card will flip around and do all this other stuff. So I suppose if in a world where you've got to have it, I'd rather have a nice decorative version of it, I suppose. Does it add anything to my life that I couldn't live without? No, obviously not. But it's Apple. They're going to do it anyway.
Well, I'm looking forward to when they do update the iOS version
next month.
Having that ability to remotely control your phone via your Mac.
Yeah. That's already on. I've already got it.
It's already on now, is it?
Yeah, you got to update your Mac and your phone.
Right.
And it's definitely weird. Works really well though. Yeah, works really well.
Can it work as technically you could set up a security camera? Your phone is.
I haven't tried. There's going to be all sorts.
I'm advocating a use for like anything like that, but it's quite handy. Like if you did go out and you didn't have, something, and I don't know how it works.
All sorts of weird. Yeah, there's all going to be sorts of weirdnesses that people will figure out. But when you do go into it for the first time, I mean, you get a new icon in your dock for a start, a little iPhone icon, and the first time it will say, do you want to prompt a password when you open this in case someone else is using your Mac? And I think it gives you like a couple of more options, like what do you want the screen to display as you're doing it? Do you want it to be inconspicuous? So if your phone's laying on a table, do you want it to light up and start doing stuff? Or do you want it to just be kind of, sleep mode? But well, this is definitely turned into the Apple Weekly podcast.
Well, it started that. I mean, we went from the Barrasso shaving cream update, which... we don't need this week because you haven't
TVs, DIY, to iPhones. Oh, actually, let's turn it back to gaming. You played any games on it yet? Because gaming's really come a long way on.
I haven't, no. I mean, the idea of keeping my old phone was to get the backbone running. And actual fact, you know what's super interesting?
Oh, try the backbone. You have the same problem I have.
We're going to try the backbone right here, right now, if I can find it.
You'll see exactly the problem I have.
Hang on. Where has it gone?
Watch it work for you.
Hang on. I bet it works for me. Do you know why? Because the camera's not as bad. Let's find out.
You've got one less lens.
The Gen 1 backbone works on the iPhone 16. Let's have a look. Hang on, mate. You're going to fucking hate this. Oh. No, it doesn't work, actually. It doesn't work.
There you go.
But, because don't even have a lightning. This is lightning.
Ah. Wait, did you just shove the lightning port into the USB-C port?
I think I might have just briefly done that, yes.
You might want to check it. Did you break the pins inside your phone?
No, I didn't force it. I didn't force it to connect or anything.
Thank God, because there's
We'll find out later on when my phone refuses to charge up, but no, I didn't.
Straight wireless for the rest of the
generation. I think it'll be fine. I didn't force it against its...
there you go. Well, at least you won't have to shell out 30 quid for the backbone curation experience, whatever they call it.
Well, yeah, exactly. But anyway, we're
I'm
never
not
live
gonna
that
let that.
one
I'm
down.
not gonna drop that one. Nah.
Never going to stop with that one. But no, the idea of keeping my SE2, I was going to unload everything and then just put games on that because I've got a damn good emulator. Other than the, because we've had like I know they're bringing out fully fledged games on mobile, and I'm like, do I really want to download a mobile version of Assassin's Creed? Probably not. It's more to play those shorter experiences. But there just hasn't been that many great mobile games anymore.
Ever since they released in-app purchasing, like about a decade ago now, games have just gone downhill. It's just become a trove of microtransactions. But I will say, and I think we spoke about this in a previous episode, if you do dabble in Apple Arcade, you do tend to get those really good single-player experiences. They're just behind Apple
Yeah.
Arcade now. But yeah, no microtransactions, gorgeous graphics, big names, that kind of stuff. It's just like they don't really release too many games in Apple Arcade.
No.
So if you can get it free with, I don't know how it works over there anymore, but at least in the US, you tend to get a lot of Apple stuff on your mobile contract, like Apple Music or Netflix, Hulu, and Apple Arcade sometimes creeps up. So if you manage to
When
get
you
it
buy a
free,
new phone, they give you it for 3 months for free and stuff like that.
oh, there you go. Yeah, definitely try it. But that's also a good one because Apple TV runs Apple Arcade as well. And if you wirelessly connect your PlayStation, Switch, or Xbox controller to your Apple TV, which you can do now, then you could essentially be playing, Resident Evil 7 on an Apple TV using a pad of your choice,
Yeah.
which is very interesting because I think that's the direction Apple is going to expand its footprint in gaming. It's like, we'll provide the platform, bring your own controller,
Yeah.
whatever you like. We're not going to be controller biased.
You can't use the one that comes with the Apple TV.
I mean, you can try, but
Well, not for those. If you're putting Resi 7 on, definitely
what
not.
was that cheap Jippo one that they released with when they just announced Apple Arcade and it was like I don't know, it was like not an LG, like a really bad cheap. It's one of those popular cheap brands, like a TCL, like
Oh, right.
it's cheap, but everyone knows it's cheap, kind of,
Yeah.
I forgot what the name of it was, but yeah, they had a really dodgy pad for a while.
It was a Wharfdale or some Walmart branded.
I don't know what Wharfdale is, but
It used to be what Walmart first brought over here when they came to the UK. It was horrible TVs with tinny speakers.
no, they just bought Vizio out here. So Vizio is a massive TV brand out here, and they just bought it.
Oh, they?
And they've rebranded it to ONN or something like that. Weird packaging,
right.
bright fluorescent orange. So if you see someone with a bright fluorescent box outside of their house on garbage day, then you know they've bought a Walmart branded TV.
There you go. Oh, well.
There you go.
And so that's been the purchasing. Obviously, I'll save the other purchase for next episode. Maybe we open up with that one. But
I thought you would hop on camera,
thought I'd go
hint, and
straight up.
just raw,
No, we'll save it for another episode.
It's a good in.
Well, there you
it's a
go.
good one.
It's a good one to tease.
Yeah.
Over to the next episode. Anyway, so we've just come off the back of 2 pressers, and
Boy, oh boy.
Tokyo Game Show was, well, I mean, we recorded it. I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel to get any gold or any gems out of that one. I mean, should we have expected much from Xbox, really? Everyone was hoping for the Final Fantasy big games. They never came. We did get 4 or 5 new Game Pass games land immediately after that presser had finished. So that was good. Final Fantasy collection, all the older ones, are now on the system. And there was a couple of interesting little titles that piqued my interest, but I don't know, maybe I was just expecting a little bit more from Microsoft, but it's just perhaps not my kind of game.
You're not wrong for
genre, sorry.
You're not wrong for wanting to expect more, because this year in particular, Microsoft made a big announcement that they're going to be at TGS. Historically, they may have shown up, or there may have been a Game Pass trailer mixed in with someone else's conference, but they were promoting this thing like 2-3 weeks out. So I think that's kind of what led people to believe that there was going to be more. But then again, I think I said this in the reaction. It's not that it was a bad show. It just, there was a lot of content that wasn't for me personally. You know, it was very JRPG heavy, and I know some people are going to be in absolute awe of that. So if that's your, if that's your cup of tea, then definitely go and watch the show. But for me, I think, what was that game? I Need Help. That was one that stood out, and I know you've got some comments about that.
It was. We'll cover that in the Playstack. So I did briefly play it, and would have played it longer if for the reason. But anyway,
I thought the Final Fantasy, what was it? The Pixel Remaster, which is FF1 to 6, was a really nice addition. That was on Game Pass as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, all of the games are on Game Pass right now.
Yeah, very cool.
It's nice to go in there. I was really surprised. I remember playing Final Fantasy VI on the PlayStation, on the PS1, and I didn't realise that it went back. Obviously, Final Fantasy VII was the one that had the, what you would say, PS1 level graphics. I just remember in my brain as being slightly different to how bare bones the graphically 6 looked. So
yeah,
I don't know.
We made a huge jump from the SNES 16-bit to the 3D polygons.
Yeah,
that was when buying new consoles actually, it was worth your money and time back then. PS5 Pro.
PS5 Pro. Yeah. Speaking of which, Sony had their State of Play, and we've obviously done our full reactions that you can check on our YouTube channel in reference to that. Well, we did put a poll up, and interestingly enough,
people voted.
People voted, and they voted even even on a level below what we ranked it up. So we gave it a score of C, and over half of respondees gave it a D. At 54.8% of the vote said it was absolute garbage from Sony. So I think our general opinions were that we would have put it at a D had Ghost of Yotei not been in there right at the end.
Yeah, and I think the bigger conversation that I'm seeing now is, why are we not holding Sony to the same standard as Microsoft? Because this is maybe the 3rd or 4th year running now where they've had dud after dud after bad show after bad show. And if this is Microsoft having one bad show, oh, that's it, Microsoft's got no games, they're gonna die, they should exit the business, blah blah blah. And yet they're on the brink of selling. Well, pre-orders have opened at the time we're recording. PS5 Pro, world's most expensive console. And why are we buying it? What games are you announcing? Don't just talk about, I want to play a game. Next time Sony have a conference, we're going to have a shot game, all right? Every time they say The Last of Us, we're going to take a shot. Because I don't think, I swear to you, in the last 10 years, I don't think they've ever gone through a conference without saying the phrase The Last of Us, or showing it, or putting a graphic on screen, or showing Ellie and Joel, or whatever. So, it's rehashes at this point.
Move on. Oh, exactly. We did get a rehash in the Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, did you
remaster?
Hear about the filthiness, the filthy Sony practice that I own?
We certainly have. Yes. Would you care to tell them?
So I've always said my biggest gripe with Sony wasn't the fact that they have games; it's their dirty business practices, their contracts that prevent developers making better versions of the games on more powerful hardware. It's that's shystiness, that we want an exclusive and we don't want anyone else to have it kind of stuff, right? Fortunately, I bought Horizon Zero Dawn on a sale, and I think I got it for like $15, maybe $16, $17, and I haven't played it yet. And they released, obviously, the upgrade patch for an extra $10, and I said to myself, well, I've never played the game, so for me, that makes it worth it. I've got a PS5. Yeah. Well, not only have they released a $10 upgrade patch, but the base game has now gone up to, I think, $40 or $50. It's gone way up, like $20 more. So that just goes to show that not everything Sony do is in the consumer's best interest.
It's not. It definitely isn't.
I'm actually surprised they even refunded for Concord, to be honest with you.
That's right. Did people get their Redfall refund, by the way? Do you know?
They must have. We would have heard something.
Yeah, I imagine.
It still hurts me to this day. Why did they not bring that last
I know. It is what it is. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Saying, oddly enough, I got that. I said they gave it away on State of Play because of the PSN hack. Actually, they gave it away free during the pandemic. Remember they gave away a bunch of free games?
Yeah.
They gave it to people during that. And I think it is on my machine, so I might already have it. If not, I've already got it on disc.
Yeah.
Because I buy games and don't realise how many copies I've got of it.
Well, there you go. So you're in the same situation as me. I think in terms of my roadmap, so I've got finishing up Modern Warfare 3, which I'm sure will go into the Playstack shortly, and then I'll go into Shattered Space because that's out on the in a few days. God, Monday, Tuesday, and then I'll probably do Horizon Zero Dawn with the upgrade.
Yeah. Nice. Well, since we're on that subject, shall we do the Playstack?
Let's do it. Go on.
Let's go on with the Playstack. So, I'll let you start with a few of yours.
Yeah, Astrobot, 100%, got the platinum. Don't want to spoil it for you, but I'm going to say that I did the Master Challenge level as well, if you know what that is.
Do you not have to do that for the 100%?
You have to do that, is what I'm saying.
Oh, you do have to do it, okay.
You got the triangle, circle, square, cross levels.
Yeah.
And once you finish all 4 of them, there's like a master with all 4 of them combined.
So it's an extra long, lengthy one then, is it?
A little bit longer. It's not too long, but it will make you rage.
Okay. I think it could be possible I'm not getting 100% this bloody game after all.
Oh, do try because it is it's good satisfaction. But I haven't uninstalled it. I'm super ready for the update coming. When is that? Next month?
Is it October in the end? I thought it was September, but it sounded like it was October on that show.
I had to check. 5 speedrun levels. Got a feeling I'll blitz through them pretty quickly. 5 levels, doesn't sound like a lot. Modern Warfare 3, so I finished the campaign on veteran difficulty, so that's the hardest one, got the achievement for that. Now I've kind of gone back on recruitment difficulty, just mopping up everything that I missed, mainly the collectible stuff, so that's taking its sweet time, but level by level going through it, getting all the sort of level-based achievements, kill this person with this weapon and weird stuff like that. So I know you've been saying you wanted to ask me questions about a specific level. Now that I finished
I think it was a level. I think it's called Skyrise or something. It's like in a tower block. You've got to go up multiple floors, steps, and it was just so good.
Yeah,
that level was absolutely fantastic.
It felt like Judge Dredd, because he's constantly going up this tower looking for the enemy or whatever. But yeah, fantastic level.
And there's multiple routes to navigate that tower block as well.
Yeah.
Did you find? Well, you must have found all the secrets because there's certain rappel things that you can only get to.
Yeah, I did get the Ascender. I haven't gotten to that level to do my mop up yet, but it's going to be done in the next week or so. But no, that level was fantastic. I have said this for a long time. I want Call of Duty to do a true open world game. Don't just give me open world levels with objectives I can do in any order. No, give me a full open world game. Because the tech they're using in their games are just so good now. It plays fluidly, graphics are great. It's got everything I want from a first-person game. Realism. Just open it up. Give me a whole city or a whole country or a whole play area. Like Battlefield, and then let us go rampant.
Do you think it might fall foul of what happened to Ghost Recon Breakpoint a little bit if that happens? Or
no, because at the end of the day, regardless of which Call of Duty you find best, the quality has always been up there. There's been multiplayer and online weirdnesses, but I'm talking purely from a campaign perspective, just the tech behind it. I think I don't really have a memory of a Call of Duty game I've not really liked. I know the masses have said Vanguard sucked. I thought it was pretty good. Wasn't my favorite, but I thought it was pretty good. It was a solid game, solid 7-8. It wasn't, I like the multiplayer a lot more than the campaign on that one. Cold War I really loved.
Yeah.
First Modern Warfare in 2020 was absolutely fantastic. Modern Warfare 3's campaign wasn't as short as I had read, but then again I was playing on veterans, so I definitely stumbled across a lot more obstacles in my way and a lot more deaths trying to get everything done. But yeah, I actually thoroughly enjoyed it.
Nice. That was definitely enjoyable experience, even if certain things I wish, part of me wishes I played 1 and 2 before 3, given what happens at the end of 3, but
it's not a story that you're sitting there going, damn, I wish well, maybe you are, but
yeah, I don't know,
it's all right.
I'm not that too invested, but
yeah. And then was on a bit of an achievement hunt. I think we were looking for a co-op game at one point, and I suggested the new Doom 1 and 2 pack, and it turns out that the achievements aren't co-opable online. So having booted that up that same day, I said, screw it, let me see how fast I can blitz through Doom 1 and 2 and get those achievements. I think I spent like 4 or 5 hours and managed to get 100% on that. I was on a bit of a high and said, screw it, let me finish off Speed Truck Racing, so I did that.
Yeah.
God, that game gets annoying towards the end. It's just the same bloody thing over and over again. But that was an easy 1,000. And then our featured game, which we'll talk about in a bit, Dead Rising Digital Remaster. So, yeah, cool. That was me.
Well, I want to start off on this We All Need Help, because this was a game that was released on the day of the Tokyo Game Show. It was one of the weirder games that was shown at Summer Game Fest. Or it might have been shown in April, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. So it's made by the guys that did Pixel Junk Monsters by Q Games, and if you're familiar with the PS3, this was, this developer was making Pixel Junk Monsters, Pixel Junk Racers. They were doing a whole heap of stuff on the PS3, and then all of a sudden just went really quiet for a long time. And this was their one that, I don't know who they were marketing this game for, people with ADHD probably. Well, anyway, long story short. So I thought, well, let's play co-op on this. It looked kind of funny. And I went to go and play, see what the co-op experience was like on this. And, well, put it this way. If you're expecting to play this online, good luck. Because this is the only game that I've played in a very, very long time, and we'd have to go back a long, long time ago, that there was no lobbies or even searchable open lobbies for multiplayer action. You could play local 4-player, or if you had the code and knew the code of a lobby that you hosted, you could go in. So you would have to post your code on the internet somewhere and hope someone finds it and joins. It's the stupidest thing I've seen this year.
It's great for streamers, but you need matchmaking.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't see a lot of people playing that because of that issue alone. I saw a lot of people, just saying to what on earth are you playing at? I think we even tweeted them and said, look, come on, it's 2024. What the hell are you doing? So I didn't get to taste what that experience was like. I don't think it would have been particularly amazing. It probably would have been funny, and that would be about it. Next up, played a little bit of Super Lucky's Tale. Don't really need to talk about that one, to be honest. Did a few more levels on that. I played and completed As Dusk Falls, which is a narrative-based game where you kind of play one of the main characters in the game gets caught up in a robbery. It goes wrong. You get to do their life choices, all of that jazz. And I played another similar game in the same genre and completed a game called Open Roads, which was very different because it was investigating your grandma's home after she died.
I wouldn't want to do that, to be honest.
Bit of a weird one. It was entertaining enough, but I wouldn't. I'd say As Dusk Falls, play that. It's really good. Open Roads, you can probably leave it. Then I played Botany Manor, which has been removed off the top tier of Game Pass.
Surprise, surprise.
Off the, not the top tier, it's exclusive to the top tier, should I say. And that was just a relaxing game. I was absolutely squeaking it because something went to print and things went wrong with the delivery over the weekend. And it's quite a charming, whimsical game. You're basically in this 18th century manor, and you have to go around and work out the clues to figure out how to make these different flowers bloom. It's on your list. It's on your list to play, you said.
Yeah, but now you've described it, I'm wondering if it should be on my list or not.
So I was surprised how kind of captivating it kind of was. But I say that, I think there might be a reason which I might allude to as to why I've got deeply into these types of games in the last couple of weeks. So maybe I'll pivot briefly onto that before completing up. One thing that I've really, and I'm sold by, if I'm being honest, it's possibly turning into my favourite way to play single player experiences, is playing games on Game Pass. I'm getting my value for money now out of Game Pass. Streaming these games inside the MetaQuest 3. It has just changed the dial on the single player experience for me, because it just gives you this unrivaled isolation. You're at one with the game. You can't see all of your surroundings around you, so you're totally there. The best way to describe it is if you're at the front row at a cinema, completely blacked out, and you haven't got anyone making loads of noise, eating their bloody popcorn or whatever. It is just, and it changes the way in which you experience those games, and especially those slower games that you usually wouldn't have time for because there's so many possible distractions, whether that be your phone going off or whatever, that you don't necessarily have the willpower to sit through this piece of dialogue. Where you kind of just sit there and accept it, and you'll start reading the dialogue, and it's like it does something to your brain to change up that thing. And I think for those types of games, and even things like Super Lucky's Tale, it's great. But when you get to things like, high octane action, that's probably where you go, you know what, actually I want the best graphical version of that, perhaps. But for those types of games, it's been absolutely phenomenal. And one of the other things I absolutely love with this, because since they updated the firmware, and pretty much, you know what Zuckerberg's like, he'll copy anything out of any rival.
Yeah.
So I've got this screen. At one point I get stuck on Botany Manor. So I've got my giant screen of the game, and below me I've got an open browser on the Quest, and I can scroll down with my hand, because the hand tracking is unparalleled on this thing. I mean, it's really good. And I can just go, brilliant, okay, I'm stuck there, and then I can refer to it if I get stuck again, rather than opening my phone up, loading up the website,
taking the headset off.
Yeah.
Without having to take your headset off. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Exactly. So for that was just the lag. There is no lag.
There's no lag?
I don't
know why, because I always
I'm
thought
not experiencing any lag.
So when you say you're playing Game Pass, are you streaming, or are you actually downloading to the... It has to be streaming.
It's streaming, yeah.
Really?
I'm not getting any input lag on these games, and I didn't get any... I think there was one occasion that I had input lag on Forza Horizon 5, for instance, something as fast as that. What I noticed is, since they put this thing on when it was on beta, when it first came out, which is actually a little while ago now, when they put it on the MetaQuest, they've obviously done something to make the experience better from when that app was first there. Because I remember playing FIFA, and it was, you press a button and about half a second later it reacted.
Yeah.
Or it felt like half a second. I'm not getting any of that input lag anymore, playing it that way. So that was really quite the experience, and that's how I'll be playing through Tell Me Why, how I'll go through Life is Strange, those types of games predominantly. I'll probably use my headset to experience them. Played a bit of Astrobot. I'm into the 4th. Who am I on the boss of now?
You got the chameleon, you've got the bird.
I can't remember the name.
You did the snake, right?
Yeah, I'm on the one after the snake, basically.
So chameleon.
Yeah. So I'm on that one at the moment. And then I've obviously played a bit of EA Sports FC 25. And I put a little short up regarding that.
Football's
just
dead,
boring. It's just boring. I mean, they've improved the tactics on the game, but they just missed a great opportunity this year. They really did. But they ruined last year's game in January, and now there's a game that actually is at least playable. And this is why I think it's getting the high reviews it's getting, because they totally messed that game up big time, that nobody wanted to play it anymore.
And it's deemed a step up. And
then all of a sudden it's deemed to step up because it plays a little bit better than when the last year's game first launched, when it wasn't broken.
So the question is, are you going to buy it?
I can't see myself buying it, to be honest with you.
You'll buy it. You'll buy it.
You reckon?
You'll be at Asda. Screw it.
I won't be at Asda. I'm not going to buy it at Asda. I've never bought a physical copy of that game.
I bought Fallout 4 in Asda. on the midnight of. He's the only one that would sell it to me.
But I don't know. I'm actually, I thought I'd really miss, because this year I've hardly played any football games because the problem's been that bad. And it's given me a chance to play a lot more other games I would usually be using a lot of FIFA bandwidth with. So that's that one. One last thing then. So I checked out the Forza Horizon 5 hide and seek mode.
Okay.
Gave it a go. They missed the mark with it, mate.
Yeah.
It's a little disappointing. If you are the person that has to do the seeking, which chances are 4 out of every 5 matches that you do, you're going to be put in that situation. It's just a little bit boring.
Yeah.
You get told on a compass where, whereabouts that person is. Now, if you're the person that has to do the hiding, I'd imagine that's a hell of a lot more entertaining. But when you're just trying to track this person down...
So it sounds like the barn finds, but with real people.
Yeah. But it's like Hot Pursuit when you had to evade the police, kind of.
But situation. Can they move as you're looking for them?
Yeah, they can move. So you get pinged. So after a while of being static, it will ping the location or area where you are. It's like a little bit like Prop Hunt. I don't know if you've heard of this game genre, but you can play it in Fortnite. Apparently, you can play Prop Hunt in Call of Duty sometimes, where you just have to try and hide and blend in with the landscape, or you can blend in with other cars that are in the Forza Horizon 5 map, or find somewhere obscure to hide your car and stuff. Most of the people I've seen play this, though, they just try and outspeed the people and not get... So, like, that's not the premise of what this is about. You're meant to be hiding the car.
That's what I was a bit fearful for, yeah. I never really understood the why behind this, to be honest. It just felt like a desperate attempt to kind of promote the game and get a surge in players, maybe. Yeah, because if I'm driving around in a car and someone else has got a Lambo, I'm obviously going to not win that race and catch them, so it's a bit one-sided. So at least we know. Providing that service to our listeners, don't play it.
Indeed. Unless you get lucky and can be the one that gets to hide, and it's a lot more fun. But anyway. And that leaves us with Dead Rising Deluxe Edition. Oh God. I don't know how this is gonna fare, this one.
All right, let's start with. So, how long have you played it? How far have you gotten into it?
I've probably played about. Well, I've gone into about 3-4 hours on it.
So, what about the same distance?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just there's just something about it. I don't know if we're going to go into a real deep dive with this one, because
more of a first impressions,
it's more of a first impressions one on it. I almost have to force myself to play this. It really feels like that for me.
I'd agree. Just thinking about it now, I'm thinking, well, I know I need to play. I paid money for it, but I don't feel like playing it. So, okay, so let me start with this. Let's start with the positives. So, definitely has a bit more of a graphical polish. It definitely looks better than the 360 version. But it's not a complete overhaul. It's more of like we've remastered it and we've done kind of the acceptable level of remastering, if that makes sense. So your characters are not going to look super realistic. They still look massive for some reason, wide and cartoony. But a lot of the old problems are still there. So one of the things they did fix is the tank control. Is it tank controls? I think the controls got an overhaul, so you can now shoot and attack while walking. In the old game, you had to be static and attack. So you would easily get caught by the zombies, and that was a really annoying part for me. So with that now changed, I definitely feel like I can get by a lot more easier. And it was too hard. It just feels a bit more natural to want to run and swing a plank of wood. It just makes sense to me. You do get that option at the beginning of the game. If you do want to go back to those controls, it does give you an option too, if you really want to, if you want to put yourself through hell. But the difficulty spikes and some of the navigation, that stuff is still there. And it's like, so I'm at this point now where I've got 4 or 5 people following me.
Yeah.
I want to take them to the security room because one of them's a cripple and I have to carry her.
Yeah.
Or she's hurt or something, and I got 4 blokes following me and a 5th one on my back, so I can't attack. I can't get to the security room because the direct route in the mall, the shutters are down and there's no way to open them. I can't go through that little courtyard park thing because when I go in there, I'm faced with these prison bosses in a Jeep.
The guys on the yeah.
So I cannot get to the other side of that mall to save them. The problem is I have to keep worrying about their health, weapons, and I'm not picking up weapons fast enough to keep replenishing them. And it's just really irritating because you have to like really aim the camera at them to kind of make sure you've got the right button prompt on screen to give them something. Otherwise, you're going to drop something or give it to the wrong person.
Oh yeah, picking
really
up
annoying.
weapons and stuff is really annoying. Though.
And also, my biggest gripe with this, and I was really hoping they'd fix this, is when I'm going between settings, so if I go from one part of the mall through a door to another part, there's a good chance I could leave half of my crew behind. Yeah. And it drives me mad. Like, I'll respawn in the other section, and there's only 2 of them. I'm like, where the hell are the other 3 gone? Got to go back into the other section. It's full of zombies now. Call them to come over, get close enough to the door, then go through the door again. Like, that stuff really irritates me. If it's supposed to be... It just baffles me. Like, how do you go from fixing the controls, giving the graphics a polish, and then something as fundamental as that, it's really annoying. So I'm stuck. I'm trying not to go find a walkthrough. But I said, sod it. Maybe I'm not supposed to go back. Maybe the game's trying to point me to go forward, and then I'll get another security lounge open up that I can save and save the hostages and stuff. All right, so I'll carry on with the game. Found another question mark on the map. I said, all right, sod it. Let's see what this is about. Maybe it's another survivor. And I thought, well, if this is another survivor, I've got 6. I might as well go for the 8 for the achievement. Have 8 survivors follow you at once. Yeah. No, it's a boss. It's a clown. Have you got to the clown yet?
I haven't got to the clown yet, no.
This is stupid. This clown is so overpowered, and I have gone through it like maybe 20 attempts to try and fight this.
Perfect.
No matter what I do, I can't kill it. He'll either kill half of the crew, which I don't want, so I'll have to reload the game, or if I tell my crew to go wait down, because you can tell them to go down there and wait, I'm thinking maybe they won't attack. No, they come up and attack anyway. So there's no way for me to fight this clown one-on-one, right? And I'm like, why can't I beat this clown? It's so hard. It's still relatively early in the game. I look up online. It turns out that clown's one of sort of the guys you've got to fight really later on in the game. Okay, well, if I'm not supposed to fight him now, well, where am I supposed to go? There's nowhere else to go.
So is he not attached in any way to the case files? Are you in this bit where you finish the case and you've got that layover period before the next one starts?
Maybe you've gotten further than me. You might have gotten further than me.
I finished the first case.
I think I've opened up the 4th photo on that case, but I don't... Yeah. Okay, so I followed... what's the Homeland Security guy's name? The bald one? Brett or something? Is it Brett? I followed him. He found the old geezer in the store, and that's kind of where I'm at.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so... I don't know. It doesn't have the same kind of fun factor as I remembered from when I originally played it. It definitely looks better. It definitely plays better. There is a charm about this game that I can see why people like, and I think that's what drew me into buying it. But it's a very bare minimum remaster. It's almost
100%.
And they did say that at the Capcom show during Summer Game Fest, that this is kind of like, we thought about doing a remake, but nah. It was like, we didn't want to change the game because people love the old game so much. Well, really, did they? Did they?
We had a few comments about me saying, why have they put the timer in? And apparently the timer is strictly necessary. I disagree, but...
I did go through the options to have a look if there was a way I could turn that off or at least slow it down. And this time round, now that I'm a lot older and hopefully a bit wiser, it's not bothering me as much. So if I've got it
isn't. No, I'd agree. It bothered me more at the time.
Yeah.
But then I was sticking to the objectives.
Right.
But I kind of played around and know what you're going to get out of a Dead Rising game since, I think.
Yeah, and so I think for me it's just more a case of if I've got 3 or 4 timed objectives on screen, I'll go for the one that's moving the fastest to kind of get that out the way. But it's one of those games that when you set your mind to going to accomplish a task, you get sidetracked so easily because not only of the visual candy on screen, and there's a lot of it, but you'll hear another guy in the store going, help, help, help. So now you're thinking, oh, let me go rescue him on the way. And then you're in the store. Then it's like some other cutscene gets triggered. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, actually, come over here and help me. So you get really sidetracked and you're pulled from left to right a lot. Like you said, I'm not really getting the urge to go back and play it, which is not a good sign, especially when you paid money for it. But I'm going to kind of force myself because I need footage for this podcast. So I do need to go back and at least do another hour.
Yeah.
And hopefully progress in the game a bit more. I want to finish it at least once. But it does look like one of those typical Capcom games that you're going to have to finish it 3-4 times if you want 100% it. And I want to go through that. I don't know.
Probably not.
Nah.
One of the things that just really pisses me off about this game is the fact that just some of that, like I swear down, I've seen situations where a zombie's grabbed me and I'm like, you know what, that's bullshit. How the hell did you manage to grab me when I was midway through swinging to, wipe out a whole bunch of zombies? And the amount of times I get grabbed, even though it looks like I've got enough clear space between one zombie to the next.
Yeah.
So I'm out around half the time. I'm bloody, eating bags of crisps, trying to up my health up and stuff.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the most annoying thing. I'll tell you what is one of the most annoying things about this game. It goes into a cutscene, you can't remember it, and doesn't always necessarily return your camera back to where you were. So I'm like, have I been outside this door or not? Oh, I've just gone outside this door. It does a load.
Yeah.
And what happens? Oh, I picked the wrong door. I want to go back in the warehouse because I want to go back up to the security room. Oh, everything's respawned. All the zombies I've just taken out have respawned just like that.
Your weapon health's down. You've got no bullets left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've had times where there should be, or it should spawn the queen that I can pick up and make the zombies' heads explode. And sometimes, those don't even happen. And the survivors, I find some of these survivors glitchy as hell.
Yeah.
There's one guy who, a proper mincer, who goes around wanting to be photographed.
Oh, yeah.
That guy, right?
I'm taking pictures of him. It's not doing anything.
No, exactly. It's not doing anything. It's not updating. It's meant to be progressing, I'm guessing, for him to go and do something else that you complete whatever that mini challenge is. This guy just keeps telling me I'm doing everything wrong. He said, but then I'm hitting the amount of points is required that should make him move on to whatever he does next. Gave up on that. There was a woman in the jewelry store who needed saving. She just attacked me. And she didn't follow me at all. She just would not follow me.
That's the cripple lady. You've got to piggyback her.
Oh, have I? Okay.
Yeah. And
Oh,
it's annoying as hell because she's always crying about her damn baby and you can't attack while she's on your back. So you're going to have to constantly...
so I misunderstood that one. But
yeah, she attacks you when you first go to her.
Oh, okay. I was like, I was like, you know what? Screw this. She can go, go. Leave her alone.
Do one.
I was sticking to the case. So the way I was playing it, I was sticking to that main case file and all of these little side missions that was kicking off. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get distracted by this because you can complete a case and then there's a layover period. So if you complete the case, like I completed the case 1 by 8 p.m. and then the next case doesn't kick off till 6 a.m. the next morning. So I was like, oh, that gives me, 9 hours, or I'm shit at maths, but it gives me 9 hours to play around in the area and do what the hell I want. And then when I went to go outside, then it activated the guys on the Jeep outside. And I'm like...
Good luck getting past that.
Well, there's only a certain amount of gun bullets that you can get, and there's no way you can take them out with melee weapons, so unless there's some explosives somewhere...
Oh, and they're bullet sponges as well, so you empty 25 bullets and it does nothing. Same with the clown.
And that's the other thing I was going to go on and say. This game's mechanics, shooting mechanics, are... Hadouken! They are awful. They play... I mean, it's so antiquated. I thought they don't need to do a full remaster, but they at least could have done something regarding that. I mean, the amount of bullets you would have to tear through to take some of these people out.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, do you know what? I've played so many games since this that address all of these. And then I have to say, this game in some places looks disgusting. On the Series S, when you go outside of the mall, it looks horrendous.
Really?
It looks horrendous on the Series S, but then you play it on the X, and for some reason, night and day difference. I've not seen an X to S game, do that so much. Like, noticeable big difference.
That much disparity.
I don't know whether they were trying to hide some of the stuff by thinking that if you got HDR enabled TV, that it would take out some of the blemishes. You know, you just wouldn't see, because of the blacks at night, just how awful some of these textures were. But yeah, I mean, there were moments in that, and it did kind of look to me like they focused mainly on the internals of the shopping mall, which I'm guessing where all that most of the action takes place anyway.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense a little bit. But I will say, I mean, I've come across, and I posted a video clip up on X. Zombies clipping through elevators, falling through walls. It's like, what? Why is that happening?
The game doesn't leave much room for error, so it's a proper old school. If you go back to the olden days of like old NES games, right? It's like nowadays it's become a bit more of a, as the consumer, you've got a lot more legal rights when it comes to video games. So, for example, you have to be able to finish it, right? Otherwise, you've not got your money's worth. Back in the day, you didn't really have to test to make it finishable. You could just make it hard and say, oh, we've made a hard game, and there wasn't any legal ramifications. This kind of feels like one of those old school mentality games where if you make a wrong move to go down the wrong corridor, oh, you're screwed. Because I went through a corridor, and there was maybe 50 zombies in this tiny little space. Somehow used every tool in my arsenal to get through to the end, and only realized that the door had been welded shut, so I couldn't get into the security room. So I just spent 45 minutes plowing through this army of zombies for nothing, and I'm like, well, what's the point?
Yeah.
So it's frustrating. I was hoping a lot more would have been done to it. I get it, it's not a remake, but you could at least modernized some of the stuff, like if I'm going through a door, bring my characters with me. They're already following me. I haven't told them to wait behind.
No, exactly, and and that's all of those little touches just lead it to a game where you're like,
yeah.
And there's just so much choice now, and it's like,
in the stack of
do
quality,
I really have the exactly? And that's we've only got a finite amount of time, especially between long working hours. It's like, do I want to be playing this game?
Yeah,
and I just. Almost, it's like I'm already willing to take the loss on it, like money wise. I'm just like, because I know that the later Dead Rising games, they're more within my keeping of what I enjoy.
I really
the clocks aren't there, and it just feels like, I don't know. It's just a weird. I think it's the first time really since we've recorded this podcast where we've kind of hit a bit of a early rub on one of these ones, and I'm just like, do I really push myself through that level of pain just for the?
I want to believe, and I got to do some digging on this, that others will complain about the same thing, and Capcom may patch some of this stuff up. We didn't have much of a patch culture back then, but nowadays, everyone's patching everything. So I think. I'm going to look into this, and I'll report back next podcast.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they could do something, even if it's just the shooting mechanics. My God, just the shooting mechanics, or at least make the way in which you get grabbed by the zombies a bit more. I'm still adamant. There's been times if you were to run a frame by frame, that there's some BS involved in some of that.
Oh, Digital Foundry will cover that in about 5 minutes.
Speaking of Digital Foundry, they did a video about the supposed Switch 2 design leaks. These do appear, finally, like these could be the real McCoy.
Yeah.
And what did you think of it? I mean, for those that obviously can't see any visuals and are listening to the podcast as well, it is essentially a Switch with a bigger screen
It
visually.
definitely looks bigger. At first, I was a bit skeptical because it almost looks identical. Right, we got these leaked CAD designs, so you obviously don't see the colors and the final finishes and materials and stuff like that, but it's almost identical. It looks like we've got the Z triggers back though. So underneath, you got your sort of L1, R1, L2, R2, and there's like a third button on each side underneath. So it looks like we can definitely. They're going for a more complex library of games, hopefully, which is a good thing, I suppose. I was hoping we'd get a real D-pad, but they've stuck to the separate up, down, left, right buttons, like the current Switch. I couldn't work out if the Joy-Con were detachable or if that was kind of like just a manufacturing line, if that makes sense. So we'll have to see on that one. I mean, the big screen makes sense. The Switch and the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally, massive screens, so it's no surprise that this will follow suit as well. Yeah, I think I'm ready for it just to be. I think everyone, to be honest with you, is ready for a better version of the current Switch. Is really what it's boiled down to be. More storage, better battery, faster processor, more impressive visuals. But the rumor is it doesn't. They think it's not going to be an OLED screen on the launch version. It looks like it's going back to an LCD, and potentially there may be a Switch Pro with an OLED screen later down the line, which sucks. Like, why are we still doing this? It was bad enough when the original Switch launched with only a 720p screen and everyone made a big thing out of that, and it was like, all right, kind of live with it. But you can get away with it on the comical style of art that Nintendo put into their game, so it didn't matter too much. But if you're going for a lot more of a meatier type of game, then you're going to need at least a 1080 screen, which I think we'll get with this. But come on, man, put an OLED in there, for God's sake.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're doing it for cost. I'm guessing OLEDs are still a bit of expense around them.
I mean, they've gone down significantly, but I mean, we're only talking about how big's this screen going to be? Less than 10 inches? It's not a massive screen. But yeah, USB ports. I want to say there was something I saw interesting. Well, they've still got the little carts in there, so that would assume that backwards compatibility is still a thing that will run all your original physical carts. I'm more concerned about what they're doing on the cloud and the software side of things, because Nintendo have a horrible history of making you buy your entire library again every time you jump generation.
Oh, yeah.
And if I've got to rebuy everything on this new system, I'm done with Nintendo at this point. But I've still got a lot of digital games that I haven't gotten around to playing, like Luigi's Mansion 3 and Mario Wonder, that I'm still in progress of playing.
Yeah.
So I'd love to transfer all of that over. It does seem like another Nintendo Wii to Wii U situation. Let's just hope they don't cock this one up. And I think that's probably why they're not doing the OLED. Like you said, it's a cost thing, because that's really the downfall of the Wii U, was that people didn't know what it did differently from the original Wii. And they were forced to pay another 100, 150-ish more for that. It was like, well, why don't I get the original Wii? Yeah. So I think they're kind of taking that into consideration. But then again, the Switch is a huge success. If it looks like a Switch, sounds like a Switch, plays like a Switch, then it's a Switch, So
I think the bit that you might have been referring to is the fact that there's a USB-C port at the bottom and the top of this device.
Yes.
Which suggests there's going to be some type of peripheral, or it could, maybe they're going to be a bit more open around, the docking situation of this thing. Just being, just whack a USB-C cable into it. I mean, USB-C to HDMI.
I'd love to. I've always wanted to, dock my Switch upside down. So that's definitely going to satisfy that.
No, I think the idea was, because if you were playing it portably and you used the kickstand, there was no way to USB-C it to a monitor. So if you're portably using it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It just sounds like a really over-engineered solution for something that you can just plug it into the bottom, though. Like,
do you think they'll do any peripheral stuff for this? Cameras or?
I don't think you need a camera. But then again, if I think about the streamer docking their Switch and playing with a Joy-Con, then maybe you can pop a camera on top of it aimed at you. I mean, it's weird, but USB-C is so versatile and got so much bandwidth, I wouldn't put it past them. But Nintendo have never really been an open platform like that. So unless they are changing their ways, who knows? Who knows? I mean,
They've usually got something up their sleeve. Like there's always something up their sleeve with every device. And I'd be surprised if they go from Switch 1 to Switch 2 or whatever they end up calling it, and just keep it like for like. There's going to be some gimmick in there somewhere, and I've got a feeling that that spare USB-C might be something.
yeah, I'll tell you what it's for.
Yet.
It's going to be for the Nintendo printer again.
Or it's going to be for some sort of device that you can blow into it, like the PS5 Pro pad or something. I don't know.
I mean, Astrobot made us use that blow for you. I felt like a right knob blow. Proper knob. Like, what are we doing?
I still, and I'll say this right now. This thing is going to be super. It looks like it's going to be super light, but the way in which is how thin the thing is, and this is what I found with playing the original Switch in portable. My fingers were hurting, like, after a little while, and yet I think the Steam Deck OLED is about 5 times the weight, and it's more comfortable because of the way that they've molded the back of it and where you place your fingers and all
the ergonomics of everything.
The ergonomics of everything is so much more comfortable, and I didn't see from that print, the way that 3D model was printed, it doesn't look like it's going to be the most comfortable thing to play with again.
Yeah, it honestly, it looks like the current Switch, just a little bit bigger, like the OLED model. But I just hope that they allow us to use all the peripherals, because I've got a Pro controller. I called BS on the Pro controller in the beginning because it was, $70 or whatever. But then I think what really made me say, oh, I'm going to invest in this platform is when, and this is funny, Tetris 99 came out. Tetris 99
did it for you.
Tetris, I don't know what it is. Tetris 9. I get funny like this every now and then. Puyo Puyo Tetris or Tetris 99 will come out, and I'll just be zapped into this Japanese arcade world. The soundtrack on Tetris 99 is so effing phenomenal. And I said, you know what? I want to play this on the TV with a controller. And I said, screw it, I'll do that. Yeah. And then me and the missus got addicted to it, so we then started paying for Nintendo Online to play online with everyone. And we were 2 months straight just playing Tetris 99. Honestly, you got to do it, mate. You'll be addicted. It's a free game.
It's free game providing you've got Switch Online. Yeah.
Yeah. But sign up for 1 month, like just the 10 quid or whatever, and you're going to be hooked. I swear to you, you're going to be completely hooked. It's the soundtrack. It's not even the game. It's the bloody soundtrack. And every time, like 10 people, it's a battle royale, obviously. You drop sort of 40, 50 people, then the music speeds up and it gets more panicky. And then on the last 10, it goes into this kind of doomsday music. You're like, oh, shit. You're trying to, like, not screw up. It's really good. Really good. Yeah.
Basically, a better version of that Arkanoid game.
Yeah. But, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I'm going to buy it because, like I said...
I want to play F-Zero 99. That's the one I want to play.
And Pac-Man 99 as well. I never got around to playing that because my Switch is on its last legs. I can't play it in portable mode because my thumbsticks have melted. Literally, have melted. And my left one is actually stuck to the plastic housing of the Joy-Con. Like, I can't move it. So I have to play it in dock mode. So, I really want a nice Switch. It's been a while since I've had a lot of Nintendo games have come out since then, including the new Zelda, which comes out today, Echoes of Wisdom.
Yeah, and we've also got another. I think it was just a little bit earlier in the week. We've also got the third Mario Party game coming out in October for the Switch, and I'm always a sucker for those. They're great. They're great to play.
Nintendo, if you're listening, give us online. I don't have 8 people who I can call around. Right? Give me online. Let me use my friends list for something more meaningful than just adding people and looking at their damn Yoshi icon. I want to invite them to games. I want to set up party chat. I want a headset. I want all of that stuff. All right, even if you got to keep the stupid Switch number, fine. I don't recommend it, but I'll live with it. Online, give me full online for God's sake. It's 2024.
You shouldn't have to voice chat over an app on your phone.
That didn't even work, did it? I never got that working. It was like Splatoon came out and there was like an app that had no options on it. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Does it auto-detect the game in the Switch by Bluetooth?
I don't know what they were thinking.
It was weird. And then they brought out this bloody headphone that like connected to the Switch, connected to your phone, then it had to like circle back to the Switch. So I was like, what are we doing?
Exactly. I don't know. Keeping on the controller theme, I'm just going to pivot over to a topic that's worth talking about because I'm really curious because I watched a video of a guy and he was like, why are all these modern controller makers keep using the same piece of mechanic that's in these modern controllers that are causing stick drift when Sega brought out their pads and they solved the issue by using something that was magnetic? Because you've had an issue, haven't you, with
This brand
stick
new
drift.
brand new controller that came out a month ago. And I bought this because my Starfield one died of stick drift. It kept going right.
Yeah.
And I opened it up and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to repair it. I got my iFixit kit. Went online, found the part on iFixit. Nice, brilliant site. Made it really easy. It was like $29.99. I'm like, oh, kind of the price, halfway price of a pad. And I'm like, well, I don't have a soldering iron either. So by the time I get all that, I might as well just buy a new pad. So I did. And then my new one, 30 days old, has got stick drift now. It keeps going down on its own, the left stick. I'm like, what the hell? So I've replaced
That
it.
was Biped broke that, alright.
Bloody Bidenomics broke it, but yeah.
So stick drift it seems to be a problem. It was interesting that I saw that Sega, so that specific part that keeps wearing, it supposedly wears out. It's meant to, stick drift problems are meant to emerge from that part wearing out. How on earth it's worn out in the time that you had that pad is
It's literally a little cube, a little bit smaller than a keyboard cube, and on it it's got like an X-axis piece of metal and a Y-axis piece of metal. And then as you move your thumbstick, it rubs against the piece of metal and it knows how far up and down on both axes this thing is. But that's exactly it. I've watched tons of YouTube videos on replacing this part, and people have put it under microscopes, and it's like literally just wears out. I'm like, how? After 30 days, I'm not an online streamer.
Yeah.
I've actually been playing very casually lately, not any long online sessions in particular. But these lawsuits need to succeed because I think Nintendo's in hot water now for stick drift.
How are they?
One of them, I think it's Nintendo, yeah.
Yeah.
But I hope, I hope they sue because this is rubbish. I mean, they're charging more for pads and they're breaking even easier.
Yeah. And especially since apparently that, I don't know whether it was in the Dreamcast controller or what, but supposedly they used the magnetic version of that and it stops it from happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
don't just, I don't know.
Speaking of controllers, by the way, Xbox have released some more. They've released some more. They've got the new Cypher series for Xbox Elite Wireless Controller Series 2. What a mouthful. And basically, you can go on to the design lab and now add a whole bunch of these translucent parts that's emerged since the Sky Cypher came out. So you can get ones in Ghost, which is white, Velocity green, Astral, which is the purple, Surf is in blue, Candy Cypher in pink, and Pulse Cypher in red. And then they released another variant of the Sky Cypher that was white or silver. It was like white silver. That did actually look nicer than the blue Sky Cypher. But for goodness sake, I mean, how many? We even got a bunch of controllers from Sony in the state of play as well. It's getting a bit silly. I've never known a generation for so many different controllers.
It's such a weird time. It's like we're getting more controllers and hardware than games. In Nintendo's case, we're getting more games and not enough hardware.
Yeah.
It's almost like these companies need to come together and say, all right, guys, we've got to sort this out.
It is silly, isn't it? But I don't know. I still see the odd one, and I'm like, that 30th anniversary controller from PlayStation. If I could have got one, I would have got it.
Looks gorgeous. I mean, I was even contemplating getting the DualSense Edge. Even the regular white one, which is the equivalent of like the Elite controller over there.
Yeah.
And I was all on board until one of the reviewers was like, yeah, if you like a long-lasting battery, then this is actually worse than the original DualSense. I'm like, what?
Oh, really?
So the original DualSense, I think it's rated at like 6 to 8 hours. This thing's like 3 to 5. I'm like, what the hell? Like, PlayStation's got to sort it. It's been since the PS3, 4, and 5. Their battery game's just been ridiculous.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what, as well, I saw a video scrolling through on YouTube Shorts of this eBay reseller company, bunch of chavs, right, sitting at a desk, and they're all sat there about to scalp and buy as many of that PlayStation 30th anniversary that they could. And I'm like, come on, guys, what the? Just absolute scummy way of earning a living. Ugh. But they're like,
$1,000 though, weren't they?
what, for the whole lot?
No, just for the PS5 Pro.
What, the 30th anniversary or the?
I believe so. Yeah, 30th anniversary, which comes with the grey DualSense, the standard pad, and then there's a grey DualSense Edge.
With a case.
With a case. Stand still sold separately, so there's that. And I think if you buy a PS5 Slim 30th anniversary or a PS5 Pro 30th anniversary, it comes with an extra faceplate. In case you buy the disc drive, you've got the grey version to put over it. So nice of them to consider this, isn't it?
Did it come with a vertical stand?
No, sold separately. Still sold separately. $39.99.
Oh dear.
Isn't the PS5 disc drive like the highest selling item on Amazon right now?
Supposedly, yeah.
God, I'm done with physical media.
People are dipping into it, but I don't know. Suggests it's going to sell somewhat at least, but how many of them are actually scalpers? Given what I saw on that video, probably a ton.
You know what's funny? Do you remember sort of 10, 15 years ago when Apple introduced the first MacBook Air and Steve Jobs pulled it out of the envelope? Do you remember that? That was the first ever computer without an optical drive, right? And everyone went mad. Oh no, it's taking away the optical drive. To counter that, the same time they released that laptop, they brought out the Apple Super Drive, which was basically a USB CD drive burner, right? That same burner just was on sale all this time and just got discontinued like 2-3 months ago.
Oh, really?
For 15 years. They didn't update it once.
Yeah.
$100, USB 2, burns at like 8 speed, reads at 32 speed. You know, it was just the most bog standard drive, but they just kept selling it. And there wasn't another drive like it. Not one that had a white cable and a metal enclosure to match your setup or anything. It's mad when you think about it. They invested in this 15 years ago and made a killing off of it, probably. Amazing.
I bought a cheap one for my Mac not too long ago, just to burn some CDs, some audio CDs and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Spotify not cutting it for you then, the playlist? No.
Well, obviously I've got CD hi-fi, but I fancied like
hi-fi, that's a word I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, I've got a mini disc, mate, mini disc. But sometimes I find some really funny tracks made off of YouTube, which you never be able to buy the physical discs for.
Yeah.
So it's just compilations of just some random. I think AJ's on there with turning the frogs gay and all that stuff. like that is compilations. But anyway, I digress. Next story. Let's talk a little bit about Nintendo again, because they are taking the developers of Palworld to court. We said this was going to be. So we've heard about this a little while ago. It's actually in progress now, but they're actually changing the way in which they're tackling this lawsuit. So they're not now going after Pocket Pair around the specific characters or infringement to Pokemon itself. They're actually going from a patent infringement side of things. So, in the nutshell, Nintendo alleges that Palworld infringes on multiple patent rights, focusing on gameplay mechanics rather than the copyright over character design now. Which is, I mean, that's even worse when you think about it. They're trying to copyright gameplay elements. Well, that would make Astrobot in the iron sights then, wouldn't it?
So what is it? Any time you call an animal-like creature to do your dirty work in a game, that's going to infringe on Nintendo's patent of Pokemon? Like it
seems like it. It's weird though, if they're going down that avenue with Pocket Pair on that particular reason, which I don't think they stand. I don't think Nintendo stand any chance of winning this, if I'm honest. Then you could argue the same for any platformer that even does a slight nod towards the Super Mario games.
You know, art's a weird thing. Inspiration can be drawn from anywhere, whether it's a movie, music, or a video game, or a character, or a drawing. Even in vehicles, cars, they all pull design cues from one another. Collectively, as long as you're not ripping off to make money to prevent someone else from making money, there generally isn't a problem. But I think Nintendo really is taking it too far now.
Yeah.
But then again, but Palworld was one of those obvious cases where you look at it and go, "Oh God, this is Pokemon." They've even the art style matches, even the type of animals and beasts matches. It's weird though. Maybe they don't have patents on the Pokemon themselves, you know? Because there's clear rip-offs. Like there was a Electabuzz rip-off, there's a Lugia rip-off, there's a ton of rip-offs that I've seen. Maybe they can't go from that angle, but from a different angle, maybe. But I'm just more baffled by why it took them so long. Because what came out 6 months ago, 8 months ago?
Well, it was the day, or it was the day after when it got announced for PS5 was when this lawsuit was announced as well.
This is it, so that's going to be a very short one on PS5 if
what if Nintendo get their way on this? But
yeah.
a lot of people aren't happy. A lot of Pokemon fans are like, do you know what? The developers behind Pokemon needed a kick up the backside, and if anything, it might actually make the next Pokemon game half decent because Pocket Pair came out there. If you haven't got competitors, what forces you to strive to do better? And it seems like I can't remember the developer's name right now, but it
Samsung.
seemed like that. Huh?
Samsung.
But the Pokemon developer, it seems like they've been resting on their laurels for a couple of
Game Freak.
couple of iterations. That's it, yeah. I mean, even the last Pokemon game that came out graphically as well. When you consider how beautiful some Nintendo games are, this thing just looked horrendous.
Yeah.
So I hope Nintendo don't win that. I mean, if you want to take your emulators down, take the emulators down. But even so, even on that front, if you're going to do that and you're going to go after emulators, why not actually allow people that have bought a digital game when you close a store have some way of preserving it? Because we know a whole heap of developers that make these shorter games don't even keep the code half the time when they make these things, and then all of a sudden you can't play them ever again.
And it goes back to what I was saying about Sony earlier on. We got to hold Nintendo to those standards as well, because if Microsoft don't do something for backwards compatibility, which as of late they've been under hot water about this whole empty framework thing for Marvel versus Capcom.
Yeah.
Then why is there no outrage? Why are people not crying when Nintendo do the absolute least for game preservation? Because realistically, all they've done is make the same iteration of their new IP, of their IPs, while making you buy the old ones again as some form of collection or subscription.
Yeah.
So Nintendo have to really start working on this digital library of theirs and backwards compatibility.
Well, you'd hope so.
Which is weird because they used to, they had the Super Game Boy on the SNES cart. You could put your Game Boy games on SNES, and then you could play your GameCube games on the first Wii U because it had hardware backwards compatibility. So they've dabbled with it. I don't. It's just greed at this point. It's corporate greed.
100%. Yeah. That's one of the things that really annoys me.
I forgot to say, give us a new Mario Kart, not just tracks.
Do you think we'll actually get one? I mean, you think so, wouldn't you?
Look, we haven't had a new Mario Kart, not just saying 8 Deluxe and a bunch of DLCs. We didn't get a new Mario Kart on Switch. We got a rehashing and DLC.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So I almost want to say that one of the launch games on Switch 2 will be a Mario Kart.
Well, I hope they don't handhold too much. I found these latest iterations of Mario Karts, they've dumbed some of these controls down, and it's just there's not as fun to play as what they. You go back and play your Nintendo 64 version of Mario Kart 64, and you would probably say, from a gameplay perspective, it plays better because there were certain things that you could do. Like, even if you were to brake after hitting a banana, you could stop yourself skidding out. You can't even do that on Mario Kart 8. Like, little things like that. But anyway. We've got a couple more stories for you before we leave you for this week's episode. Let's just briefly go into this one. I don't really know how true this is or not, but people were spotting a very interesting irregularity surrounding IGN's Game of the Year vote. Because Black Myth WuKong was winning it by a country mile, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. So, and this game, of course, was by the game journalist community. They didn't like it too much because it didn't tick all of the boxes that they were looking for. It actually just stuck to making a good video game without a political message thrown in it and all of this other stuff. So these voting anomalies claims are as been as follows. So initially WuKong was reported as being in the top positions of this particular poll. Then after a certain point, its win rate seemed to be manually adjusted, like the weighting of it, or the weighting of the votes surrounding it, didn't reflect the community's voting. So there's been something that supposedly has been going on surrounding this, and all of a sudden, Game Science, who came under a bit of controversy surrounding this game, is kind of seems like they're not going to get the spot, and this has been one of the unexpected hits of the year. So I don't know what to make of it. People are saying that it could just be complete coincidence, or there could be something involved in there. I don't know what to make of it. It will be interesting to see how that game, whether it even gets any awards or nominations for awards at the Game Awards show later this year.
Yeah, it's a weird title. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding it, especially with the communist Chinese government's involvement and exclusivity deals with PlayStation. It's a shame because this was one of those games that came out of nowhere, and every time we saw it, when they released little video trailers here and there, it just looked mind-blowing. And for it to land and have this many controversies surrounding it, it's a sad state of affairs.
Yeah. We shall see what happens when the Game Award comes along, see if they get any nominations for that. It's looking like Palworld's going to clean up at this. Not Palworld. Palworld might actually win something. Astrobot is probably going to clean up, you think?
I'll be honest with you, this is the first time in a long time I'm actually not looking forward to the Video Game Awards. There's been so much BS this year. Yeah. And I just feel like it's going to be an actual... I mean, we'll cover it and react as usual, but it's just one of those... I mean, typically speaking, I'm usually ecstatic for it. Yeah. Just all of the Jeff Keighley shows and involvements this year have just been an absolute joke, and I don't know what it is this year. I've just seen right through all of it.
Yeah. The pure unbridled commercialization of it as well.
Yeah.
You're going to have some mobile developer pay a good wedge to force us to watch their new mobile game for over a minute.
Yeah.
But
Tencent winning a green award from the UN and
yeah, all of that stuff. I would like to see though. I mean, there is still an outside chance Microsoft might reveal something there. Maybe
that's the rumor. That's the rumor. I mean, do we get the handheld? Sounds possibly. Like maybe.
We'll see. Should we talk a little bit about Ubisoft?
Let's do it.
So, wow. I mean,
everyone's favorite DEI company.
It's absolutely crazy what's been happening at Ubisoft. The valuation of the company's going through the floor. Assassin's Creed Shadows has been delayed now until, was it February of next year, is it?
Yeah.
February the 14th. They're bringing it out on Valentine's Day. I don't know why, but I feel like that's possibly... I don't know. Could be a wrong move to even release it on that day. But they've been in... There's been a myriad of things as to why they haven't been performing. I think one... Star Wars Outlaws released with a ton of bugs. even though, and this is what I didn't quite understand, because people were reviewing it, giving it 80, I think it was like an 83 Metacritic average or something like that.
Yeah, what version are you
Yeah,
playing?
I've seen countless gameplay examples of this game bugging out,
Yeah.
doing stupid things, the stealth not even working at all in the game, and then them putting in annoying things in there, like for instance, if you mess the stealth up, you've got to start the level again, like all these stupid things that are in this particular title. So that really underperformed, and I think they were really thinking that this was going to run a ton of numbers, because usually whack a Star Wars on it, you tend to be pretty golden, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't have the luster since EA have dabbled around with it for so long. Perhaps people are a bit more skeptical of a Star Wars game these days. But
Then again, even EA had their fair share of criticisms with Battlefront. It just seems like no matter who gets the Star Wars IP, they tend to fumble the ball.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, what's next? We're going to get a football EA game, a Star Wars game.
Football Star Wars game.
Darth Vader in goal. I mean, that's a game I'd play.
Be the Star Wars Crew DLC.
Yeah. Luke Skywalker up front. Absolutely play that.
So yeah, the stock's been, now they're under an official investigation now from their shareholders. Things have got that bad. Obviously, there was the whole controversy surrounding Shadows, the character, the casting for that particular game, the way in which it was presented, the DEI elements of it, which didn't, immediately that turned a whole, a bunch of people off that just don't want to participate in any of that anymore. They're just pig sick of it. Doesn't matter if it's an Assassin's Creed game or not. But yeah, I don't know whether this means that Yves Guillemot and his brothers potentially might end up getting forced out of the company and being run by someone else, or Ubisoft could potentially, if things continue to get worse, be acquired by someone else. I mean,
which is what I'm thinking is more likely, to be honest with you, because they've got IP.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it started going bad. All I remember is Ubisoft were one of the staple shows during E3 for many years, and every year they would bring out stellar games, something in there, and all of a sudden it just started trimming a lot of that out, and the games got, the shows got shorter, and the game spots, the spotlights got a lot longer, and next thing we know, we're watching Steep for 20 minutes while they talk about the online multiplayer. I'm like, why are we still talking about Steep? Like, I want a Rayman game, I want an Assassin's Creed game, I want a new Far Cry game. Well, I don't know. Beyond Good and Evil 2, that was another one. Doesn't look like that's going to happen.
No, I think that one's buried now, because I thought originally it was cancelled, and supposedly it wasn't. And it was still in development. I was like, well, you haven't talked about this thing for years.
Oh, and don't forget the other Prince of Persia game that got completely scrapped and they've had to start again. Yeah. Sands of Time remake.
Yeah.
So there's definitely... I think it's just mismanagement, if I'm honest with you.
Probably.
Something drastic had to have changed around 5 years ago.
But their employees are striking in October as well.
I'm not surprised.
Because, well, this is more about their return to office policy. So they've been kicking up a stink that they have to go in the office 3 days a week. But if you look at the caliber of people that Ubisoft employ, is there a bit of a surprise there that all of a sudden they've got employees there striking en masse?
Well, the good thing is if Microsoft do buy Ubisoft, they won't have to go through the layoffs. So that's a good bit of news.
They'll already be done, yeah.
It will be done for them, yeah.
You know what it'd be like, that the CMA will say no.
FTC
Probably.
will call it monopoly again. But Sony, no problem. As long as soon they write that check, Sony will have them.
Yeah, they're probably they can't get any scrutiny at all. So what was it? The net bookings for the second quarter of, it's about 370 million. Crikey. So it is just, genuinely, obviously no, I think shareholders are not going to be getting anything when they're investing in the company for the end of this financial year by the looks of it.
And I don't have a good feeling about the Assassin's Creed launch either. This is not going to be a good one for various reasons. It's Japan was the one they wanted for the longest time, and they finally announced Japan, and they had to go and do something that people don't want, you know.
Oh,
And
now
we're actually hearing a similar situation with Ghost of Yotei as well.
really.
Yeah, allegedly the main character who they've based the likeness and voice acting from apparently is
Yeah.
a super hardcore protester on the left side, so
Brilliant.
actively blocking fans and stuff like that. So there's a lot of that going on. So I got a feeling Ghost 2 is going to be a bit of a similar situation.
Could be another. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just shooting themselves in the foot at this point.
I did find it, upon reflection, I did find it extremely weird that they're toting that it's going to come out next year. And
Well, that doesn't seem to me like. I don't even think it's going to be a fully fledged, full length game.
well, they're positioning it to be a sequel, full sequel. Because remember, the original working title when they first announced they were working on it was called Ghost 2, and it was just a logo. And we didn't hear anything for sort of 2-3 years. And the other day was the first actual trailer we got of the game along with the name. So we still haven't seen gameplay of this thing. And the lead up from Ghost 1 to launch, you know, they started showing off gameplay way sooner than this.
Yeah.
And what worries me even more is I think it's safe to say that we're going to get GTA 6 in the second half of next year. So no one's going to want to release in the second half. This game is not going to be ready in the first half of 2025. We haven't had a single screenshot of actual in-game gameplay. We haven't had a showcase, a PlayStation showcase. We haven't had the announcement of a Ghost of Yotei branded PlayStation with side plates. Nothing. So
You could end up releasing with a Rise of Ronin quality level to it, possibly.
I actually did stumble across a video where they're doing that. and people are not happy with the graphics. The people were saying the graphics look dog-esque, you know?
Yeah.
So I part of me thinks that they're faking the date because people are kind of seeing through the BS now. PlayStation know that they need to have a first-party game teased on the horizon, especially with the PS5 Pro. That trailer looked unfinished. There's a scene at the end where you kind of get a close-up of the protagonist, and there's a wolf in the shot.
Yeah.
And the wind's blowing, but the hair on the wolf is not even moving. So it does sound like that trailer was very rushed and quickly put together.
Oh, gosh.
So it'd be interesting to see how that one plays out.
Yeah, definitely. We shall see, maybe. I'm not that, at the moment, having not been through Tsushima, it's not exactly on my list to come up and pick in a hurry. So
Tsushima's definitely a much better game from what I've seen and heard. So
yeah, cool. We got one last story, I think. Let me just double check the list here. I think we're down to the final story. We'll make this a quick one because it was a weird moment for Electronic Arts. I just wanted to summarise over this because the big debate around AI and the uses of AI, there's been protests obviously as well from the video game, the voice actors and developers about, what does the future of our jobs look like in game development. And one of the reasons why they did do the big round of layoffs was nothing to do really too much about the compressions of the company's accounts, as it was more about trimming the fat that they can now replace using AI technology in game development. And there's been one company out of all of them that has been super brazen with adopting AI in a way that it's almost like,
scummy.
if you're going to work for us, this is how we're going to be. And Electronic Arts is that. They had their Investor Day recap, and there was some interesting stuff that I saw off the back of it. One of them was showing what the future versions of map creation will be using AI. So if you're creating your own multiplayer maps and all of this stuff, it looks like it's going to reinvent the wheel on how it goes about that. There was a tech demo surrounding that. And then they showed the whole way that they're going to completely revamp and rethink the marketplace side of things. So you can obviously have creators create items for games, and it's been like that for a while. They're going to be using AI in a whole new way to basically curate all of those selections, and also use AI to create things in The Sims, for instance. If you're building a house in The Sims and things like that, it's just going to be so much more quicker and hell of a lot more customizable than ever before. That you can just specify how to do exact things based on your exact interpretation. So they're a little less bound. What was really interesting is some of this technology is clearly being used by EA in their latest releases, because there's no way that new character creation in FC25 is running on something that it's using some type of AI inside that to do what it's done. It's the most in-depth character creator I've seen. So it's looking pretty interesting, at least for the future of what's happening there. But what's your general thoughts about AI in game development? Do you think we're going to end up seeing the same bloody experiences as a result, or?
I think initially we will, and that's usually the case with any form of tech. You're going to get a lot of people doing the same thing in a very, very close manner. I'm okay with AI in any aspect of anything. I think where I get a little bit nervous is when we start to remove the human creativity from it, because you've got a set distinct roles with this stuff. Yeah, AI is great for monotonous tasks, for the stuff that we don't want to waste paying a human on. But then when it comes to actual creativity, characters, storylines, things like that, I don't think you can beat a human, because humans are weird, right?
Yeah.
Humans can train AI only so much, but you can't get them to think outside of the box. You can get them to think within the playground or model that they've been taught to think in, with the variables that they've been given. So unless there's a way that will improve, which obviously it will be, it's inevitable, that's the direction the world's going in. If you want to, I'll take No Man's Sky, for example. If you want to use AI to create 6 million planets, by all means, go for it. Who's got time to pay and spend on having humans develop that? But, again, if you start taking that and getting them to replace it with story and character design, and I'm a little on the fence when it comes to voiceover work as well, because on one hand, it's like AI can completely replace voiceovers and you save a killing. But then again, you put a lot of people out of work, and there's a lot of games that have become successful because of actors and actresses that have lent their likeness or voice acting work to the game. So I think, as with everything else, we're going to see a massive decline in hiring external resources, and then what will happen is we'll go through that incline eventually of, hey, we're using real people for this again. It's like the whole thing of genetically modifying food, and all of a sudden, hey, this is organic again. It's like, it's just like how everything tends to work. It gets bad and then it gets better. So I think we'll start to see it a lot with the next generation, the true next generation of consoles that Xbox and PlayStation put out in the next 2 years. And then we'll have to see where it goes from there. I'm even a little bit dubious on the whole speaking to your game thing, because on one hand, it's very cool and it's a great showpiece, but realistically, after work, after talking all day, do I want to be talking to a machine? Probably not.
Yeah.
So what happens with that? Do I still get the same 4 options that Fallout and Starfield have been providing this whole time to select from on screen? Or
that's
it's
the other side, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a weird one. You could really tailor some games and do some things that we've never seen before, and we've reached that graphics pinnacle, And we recently experienced that with the PS5 Pro, A lot more hands-on demos have been had, especially this week. A lot of YouTubers and streamers have gone to PlayStation in California to kind of get their hands on it, and a lot of them are saying the same thing. It's like, look, the newer games like Spider-Man 2, you don't really notice too much of a difference. The older stuff, obviously, it's been updated, so you're going to notice more of a difference. But then again, it's a lot of stuff that you probably don't care too much about.
Well, the guy that was on with John Lineman,
Ollie,
was calling his showcase game out of all of them F1 2024.
Yeah.
It's like a Formula One game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can now see the shadows and the lighting be so much more perceptually more, intense and all of this stuff. It's like, do I really care about that? Probably
give us better ways to interact with games. We've got great hardware as it is. I saw a patent from Sony a few years ago, and I don't know if they got awarded the patent, but something was really cool, and that was instead of having to navigate on your dashboard for the game tile, load up the game, go through the intro credits, select continue, load your game, and all that stuff, you could have kind of like a tile on your home screen or a snapshot of the save game. So you hit the save game tile on your home base or your dashboard or whatever, and it just opens the game, skips all the opening credits and all that stuff, all the logos, gets you straight kind of where you left off. It's kind of like a more advanced version of quick resume.
Save state, yeah.
Yeah, without having to have the game kind of loaded already in the background, which is what Xbox is doing. So give us things like that. Make obviously the loading faster, better loading on SSDs, give us better ways to design levels, less corridors, while the game deloads behind the player and loads up in front of the player while being masked from a wall or a set of trees in a forest. Let us have a really different, expansive world. I'm not a hardware designer, I don't know what's next. AI is the obvious thing, but those are some of the things I think of.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like Ratchet and Clank was meant to be the game that was a showpiece for when the PS5 came out, saying it was going to
and that was
transfer all these different worlds.
And that was an absolute con as well, because you saw that intro trailer, and if you watch the part where he transitions through the portal to the next world, on the actual PlayStation showcase, that sequence is seamless. But if you actually watch in-game play of that section, he goes through the first portal, he's in this kind of nether realm while the game's loading the next portal, and then the second portal appears. You see what I mean? So it was kind of very cheeky the way they did it, whereas...
It was a sly loading screen.
It was just basically a new loading screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. So even they cheated a bit there as well. Yes, today it's still, the most impressive version of it, but was it what was advertised? Not quite,
Yeah. Exactly.
You can't eradicate loading. You can make the device load faster, and that's fine, but as technology gets more powerful, developers cram more features and bells and whistles into games. So all that's going to do is increase the loading again. So we're constantly playing this cat and mouse game with every generation. So when Sony, say, PS5 Pro gets rid of the fidelity and performance toggle, well, yeah, it gets rid of it for now, but when the next gen comes out, we're going to start to face that again towards the end of the generation. You're never going to satisfy that. It's a stupid marketing angle, to be honest. So
I really want to see them, at least some games that do use this LLM conversation technology, but it has to be real low latency. So you speak to them, you get an instant reply. There's none of the waiting around for a response. It's instant.
Yeah,
because if you can't do that, it's very annoying. But I just realised there's one last thing we talk about on this podcast, and it's surrounding the Silent Hill and PlayStation exclusivity. So another example here of
shystiness
and Xbox seemingly just not pushing as we want them to do.
Yeah.
1 year exclusivity to PlayStation, but is this the one that graphically is looking rather rubbish?
Yeah, I love Silent Hill and I was all for this, but I don't want to blame the devs. Bloober, they've done some good stuff, with the medium and that game. I keep forgetting the name of that game. It looked like System Shock. Anyway,
yeah,
it doesn't look modern. It looks like they've done the same thing that Capcom have done with Dead Rising Remake. It's like, yeah, it's polished, or it's widescreen. But then I'm thinking to myself, well, here's where you get into some weird decisions, because there was a lot of fog in Silent Hill, and that was because the draw distances back then, you couldn't load too much of the level. Yeah. Well, we're in this weird thing now where if they remove that fog, then it removes the scary element. But because we see so much fog, it just looks like a very basic game. I don't know. There's a lot of... I want this to work out, and I hate the fact that Sony's snagged the 1 year exclusive on this. So here we are again.
Indeed. Well, on that bombshell, I think that wraps up the episode. But I don't know, I've never been a major Silent Hill fan. But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. We're going to probably cap it there, and we shall catch you for another episode coming shortly. And we're edging towards Halloween, so it's not too far away, a couple of episodes away. And I'm pretty sure we're going to try and do something that is at least Halloween themed for that.
Yeah.
Even if it means we boot up a bit of a scarier game for that. But I would love to see us get some footage of us getting jump scared at some point.
Yeah.
Even if we're recording it on our own personal capture devices or something. Well, maybe I'll give the PlayStation camera a go and
Twitch.
do some streaming on Twitch.
There you go.
But we shall see. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and we shall see you guys next time. Bye-bye.